Tonight, I am so honored to have on the set Mrs. South Carolina, Bethany Thomas. I'm so
Hi,
excited. Hey,
I am
girl.
so excited to finally meet you in person.
Oh, it's my honor, girl. You are just doing so many great things this year with your title. And the one thing I wanted to talk about is your Voices of the Carolinas, because it is something that a lot of women deal with, but not a lot of women want to talk about it. And that is one of your
so true.
missions. So walk me through your story and how you were involved with this and how come you created this foundation.
Absolutely, I would love to. So, I have been married to my husband for 15 years, and ages ago, when we decided to start a family, we were faced almost immediately with infertility. And honestly, Deborah, the most frustrating thing was that our diagnosis was unexplained infertility. I can remember walking in to meet a new doctor or go to a new clinic and really just praying that they would find the problem, find what was wrong so that we could just fix it. But that never happened. And after 4 years and countless procedures and medications and surgery, even, I can remember the last specialist that we saw told me, Bethany, you will just never be pregnant. And I felt like I was shattered into a million pieces on the floor. So we walked away from that and decided that we were at a crossroads. Either we would be married and not have children, or we would choose adoption. And at that time, we didn't know. We knew that we wanted to be parents, but I'm not going to lie, my husband was not sold on the thought of adoption. So we prayed and waited, and one morning at church, we had the aha moment of the sermon was about a scripture, James 1:27, and it talks about how we're called to care for orphans. And it was that moment that was pivotal for my husband and I. So little did we know, though, we were stepping out of one crazy ride and walking into another one. It's such a journey. We would do it again in a heartbeat. But fast forward, when our son was 7 months old, guess what happened? I got pregnant, and so now we have two, our son and our daughter.
So you were able to get pregnant on your own after
right.
all of that. Oh my God, that's an amazing
So they're 15
story.
months apart. Let me tell you, there were lots of days where I felt like all I did was change diapers. But
15 months apart. That's like,
I'm just
insane.
Truly blessed to be married to my best friend, to be a mother. I mean, these are the things that I dreamed of. Whenever I decided to compete for Mrs. South Carolina, we represent a platform, and I know because I work with young women and coach them, and sometimes women have such a hard time deciding, what's my platform? I love volunteering with all these things, and all these organizations are great. But for me, it was easy.
Your passion.
I
It's
knew.
what you experienced.
I had
it
to
was
tell
you
my
lived
story.
It. Right, you had to tell your story.
And that's how I came up
Right.
with Voice of the Carolinas, to give women who are battling infertility or loss a voice.
So I am just in awe of that. So you went through all of these procedures, surgery, and it was unexplained.
That's
No
right.
one could explain it. And then you adopt, and then you're blessed with being able to be pregnant. That is
It was
the
a shock.
story. What? That chapter would be a great chapter in the
Yes,
whole book.
I know.
Oh, and so how wonderful that you can actually be a voice for not only the adoption, but also the journey and how
Yes.
that turned out with having your own baby and being
Yes.
able to go through a pregnancy.
That's right. A few minutes ago, you mentioned that it's hard for women to talk about these things. I can remember when I was going through it, I felt very alone, isolated. At that time, I didn't know any of my friends that had ever had an issue becoming pregnant. And so it truly is isolating. Through Voice of the Carolinas, we've had a wonderful support group where women get to share and relate to one another. And it's all about building that community for me.
I love it. We're going to take a quick break
Thank
and
you.
see some of your fabulous pictures on all of the crowning moments and some of your charities and some of the big events that you participated
Awesome.
in. And then we're going to come back and talk about a few more things that you're going to accomplish this year.
Okay, thank you.
That when we come back. now we're back with the amazing Bethany Thomas, Mrs. South Carolina. You can't hear that enough, right?
I love it.
You love it.
Childhood dream come true.
You are our queen. So tell me about your year. You have been doing so many great moments and living the dream. So tell me some of your highlights.
Okay. One thing, whenever I can remember so distinctly during my interview for Mrs. South Carolina, that one of the judges asked me, how do you think you're going to go out in the community and relate to everyone? And I remember telling him, I can speak to anyone that's age 3 all the way to 93. And he just loved that and thought it was the cutest thing. So after I won, I thought, you know what, that's what I'm going to do. So I volunteered at actually my children's school reading and various other events that they've been involved in with their sports and all the practices and things. The kids love when I bring out the crown. They want to touch, they want to put it on. It's just adorable. One of my favorite things, taking it to the other end of the spectrum, I went to a senior living home in my neighborhood and visited with them. I put the sash on them and let them wear the crown and push them around their wheelchairs. You would have thought that it was the greatest moment of their life. So some of those things are just standout highlights to me. I just love to see other people smile, and just warms my heart. All the relationships that I've made and the people I've met this year have just been incredible.
The crown just opens the door for so many things.
It truly does.
And you're so relatable and kind and genuine. And I think that is just so refreshing. When you go into the kids' school or a nursing home or even an event where you're signing autographs, you are just kind and you have a smile that radiates, and
Thank you.
it just glows, and you can tell you're such a good person. So I love it. I love it for you, and also love that something near and dear to your heart is how important health and fitness is.
Oh, yes.
So let's talk about that a little.
Okay, so I can tie this in a little bit to my infertility journey. Whenever I was going through all of that and all the things weren't working, that is when I got serious about changing my diet. So a fun fact, side note, I was born and raised on a farm, a cattle farm that my grandfather bought.
That's why you're so humble, girl.
Bought when he was 30, so long time ago. But I'm a vegan. And
that just makes no sense, but okay.
I'm a vegan raised on a cattle farm.
You didn't eat the cattle. You ate it then.
Right. I love them and love
They're pets
animals. But whenever I was going through this whole journey, I changed my diet. And Deborah, I'm telling you, that was what did it for me. Cutting out all of the things that were not serving my body. I cut out gluten and dairy and excessive sugar. And then that was actually my New Year's resolution, January 1st that year. I'm getting serious. I'm going to buckle down and change my lifestyle, my diet. And then that was the year that I became pregnant.
So you started that in January. What month did you get
March.
pregnant? March. So really, there is a correlation.
There is a correlation. I've always been into fitness. I love to exercise. I'm actually a bar instructor. I love to run when I have time. I love trying all different sorts of fitness classes and pretty much you name it, and I'll try it, and I love all the things, especially group fitness. So
you're
very
vegan,
important.
so no meat, no processed foods.
Correct.
So all natural.
Yes, ma'am.
So walk me through a typical day of what you eat.
Okay, let's see. This morning, I, of course, had coffee. And
Of course, now that's
you may think
that's something we can never give
this
up.
is weird because my husband thinks it's weird, but I have this vegan protein powder that has greens like kale and celery and spinach, and I
that's
put it
good.
in my coffee.
Oh,
But then I add a little flavored almond milk creamer, and it's so good. I always joke with my kids, if they misbehave, I'm going to make them drink it.
well, I guess you could make a shake with it, but why bother? You put it in your coffee.
That's right. So I do that. I love to snack on things like nuts and fruits. I love to dress up a salad and add like quinoa. I don't know if you're into that.
Oh,
but
I love
flavored
quinoa.
It's
We had a
so
chef on
good.
today, and that's what we used.
Oh,
quinoa.
nice. Well, I wish I would have been here for that.
No, and fish. Do you eat fish?
No, ma'am.
No fish. Okay.
I don't.
No fish. Okay.
But I try to encourage my children to eat healthy too. I get up
When you do
super
a dinner,
early.
do you do their dinner separate and your dinner something
Let me
different?
tell you, I try to avoid it because I want them to try new things. But sometimes it's inevitable.
Right.
You know.
Yes, they want the
So
processed
there are
foods.
nights that I am the short order cook.
Yes, of course.
Yes.
What do you want coming up?
That's
Well,
right.
you are an absolute delight. It's
Thank you.
so nice to have you on the set. You are just as beautiful on the inside as you are on the outside.
As are you. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. So it was such an honor, and I'm going to see greatness coming from you for eternity. So,
hope
so excited to have you, Bethany.
Thank you so much for having me. I have loved getting to know you. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. South Carolina, she is an absolute beauty, but just as gorgeous on the inside and just close to our hearts.